Jadi krisis dah. Nama-nama besar macam ni, Kedah, Perak, Pahang, or whatever they call now, the club equivalent. And we know other clubs, walaupun kata nak main dalam musim yang akan datang, ada masalah kewangan. Ada yang belum bayar staff, belum bayar gaji. Saya kena
2 hari lepas saya to cover Persib Bandung's last final game. Boyan Hodak, correct. Title win dia dan juga my initial and general conclusion is that Malaysia masih tidak ada budaya bola sepak. It's not strong enough. It really isn't strong enough. Tanya dia, kenapa you sokong Persija? Dia punya jawapan is, essentially kami di Jakarta adalah homeless, tetapi Persija Jakarta adalah menawarkan home for the homeless. You know, like that sort of connection.
Di mata sebagian kaum Melayu palsu, negeri kasino Malaysia mungkin sudah makmur sekali dan hebat dalam segala bidang, termasuk film, musik, bahkan sepak bola. Itu sebabnya mereka suka merendahkan bangsa, negara, dan bahasa Indonesia. Tapi kaum Melayu palsu Malaides lupa bahwa negara mereka sangat kecil. Mengurus penduduk yang sedikit tentu jauh lebih mudah. Ibaratnya, hanya dengan mendirikan judi kasino pun sudah bisa mensubsidi kaum Melayu palsu. Bandingkan dengan jumlah penduduk Indonesia yang sangat besar dan tersebar di wilayah Indonesia yang luas. Hal ini yang menjelaskan kenapa negara India juga sulit memakmurkan rakyatnya, walaupun India memiliki peradaban tinggi dalam sejarahnya. Negara Cina pun memerlukan waktu yang lama untuk jadi semaju sekarang. Dan jangan lupa pula jutaan kaum Cina perlu merantau ke berbagai pelosok dunia untuk mengubah nasib. Begitu pula negara Indonesia yang sangat luas dengan taraf kecerdasan dan taraf kehidupan rakyat yang sangat beragam. Tidaklah mudah mengurus negara sebesar Indonesia. Walau begitu, setidaknya bangsa Indonesia telah disatukan dalam satu bahasa. Adapun kaum Melayu negeri kasino masih sibuk mencari identitas dan sibuk memartabatkan bahasa Melayu. Budaya populer Indonesia seperti musik dan film juga berkembang pesat. Industri sepak bola pun mulai bangkit. Adapun industri sepak bola negeri kasino Malaides justru dalam keadaan terpuruk, seperti yang digambarkan oleh orang Malaysia berikut ini.
Krisis dah. Nama-nama besar macam ni, Kedah, Perak, Pahang, or whatever they call now, the club equivalent kan. Untuk mereka menarik diri daripada liga tempatan, ini bukan klub picisan. Ini klub yang ada tradisi, yang ada sejarah, yang ada pedigree. And we know other clubs, walaupun kata nak main dalam musim yang akan datang, ada masalah kewangan. Ada yang belum bayar staff, belum bayar gaji. Saya kenal ramai terlibat.
Itu soalan yang berat tu. Memerlukan mungkin 15 jam untuk discuss and dissect. Sebab it's masalah yang sangat kompleks. So many different aspects to it. Tapi let me start by just saying yang 2 hari lepas saya dan co-host saya, we have a show on Astro called Bola Itu Live. Both of us went to Indonesia to cover Persib Bandung's last final game. Boyan Hodak, correct. Title win dia dan juga parade dia. And kita orang bertolak ke Indonesia tu dengan emosi yang agak negatif, because I'm a Perak supporter. My co-host Faiz is from Gurun. He's a Kedah boy. And both our teams ditutup, right? So we're trying to go and experience football culture whilst at the same time dealing with the fact that our own teams have shut shop. But having been there and experienced what we experienced, which we all documented, and I just, my initial and general conclusion is that Malaysia masih tidak ada budaya bola sepak. It's not strong enough. It really isn't strong enough. I think we can talk about club needing to manage spending, perlu mengikut budget, no need to overspend, because that's the reality of bola sepak Malaysia kan. Kelab-kelab kalau ada budget 80 juta, dia spend 90 juta on gaji sahaja. Belum ambil kira operational cost, belum ambil kira travel and all the other stuff. There's a culture of overpaying, overcompensating dalam Malaysian football. Everything is awal musim, apa target kita? 1 piala, 2 piala, 1 piala. There is nothing about sustainability 3 tahun ke, those things we rarely hear, with the exception of clubs like JDT, of course, Selangor and all that. But putting all of that aside, benda paling basic is the clubs in Malaysia don't even make an effort to create some sort of sense of belonging. Because how long more, berapa lama lagi kita akan cuba guilt trip penyokong untuk sokong pasukan lokal. Kita akan cuba marah, guilt trip them or be sarcastic about them, tengok EPL tapi tak nak sokong local team. How long more are we going to do all these things to convince people to watch local football instead of genuinely building a sense of connection dengan diorang that makes them want to support? Because I realize that in places like Bandung in Indonesia, they don't support Persib Bandung because they want Liga 1 to be prosperous. Mereka tidak menyokong Persib Bandung untuk bola sepak Indonesia jadi prosperous. Some of them couldn't even care less about Timnas or care less about the health of Liga 1. They support Persib Bandung because Persib Bandung is a part of their identity. It's within their blood. Diwarisi as they say it over there. I can't think of a culture like that here at all. All throughout saya punya upbringing, we were always just told, sokong club supaya Liga kukuh. Kalau Liga kukuh, baru national team kukuh. Yeah, but as a fan, mungkin it is not my duty to think of Liga or to think of... Maybe I should just start by asking, what does this team mean to me? And I think that is at the very basic core yang teams need to start to rethink. Forget about the finance, all comes after that. Tapi first and foremost, how do you build a sense of connection to the point yang if a team tutup shop, fans take to the streets. Fans protest, start fundraising, going crazy. How do we create that culture? Because when I go and have conversations with Malaysian football fans and perhaps even ask them questions like, why do you support this team? Why do you support the team? A lot of the answers are, related to the fact that, I come from Kedah, so I support Kedah. I come from Perak, I support Perak. But I think the clubs don't give them a reason, or the clubs don't give them an environment to experience the culture at a deeper level. Macam saya pernah tanya seorang penyokong Persija Jakarta, part of Jakmania, kumpulan penyokong Jakmania. Saya tanya dia, kenapa you sokong Persija? Dia punya jawapan is, sebenarnya Jakarta ni adalah tempat, melting pot of people from all parts of Indonesia datang mencari peluang untuk kelangsungan hidup. And bila datang di Jakarta, melting pot of cultures, a lot of us meninggalkan rumah, meninggalkan comfort zone, meninggalkan budaya, meninggalkan family untuk datang ke sini. Essentially kami di Jakarta adalah homeless. Tetapi Persija Jakarta adalah menawarkan home for the homeless. Like that sort of connection can only be, benda tu tak boleh, you tak boleh paksa anyone to have that connection. It's organically built kan. So I think, and that only happens because those clubs, those fan clubs are very active at the grassroots. They're constantly involved doing things. And I suppose we don't have that culture here as of now, at least. Perhaps it existed.
PKNK or Perak SADC, Perak State Government dah tak bagi duit kepada tim tersebut, 2-3 juta whatever it is. Sponsor pun dah tak ada. Sebab sponsor kata tak ada siapa pergi tengok stadium, tak ada siapa pergi tengok bola game dekat stadium. Where do you get the money from? That's a serious problem.
Ini adalah topik yang again very berat because it will involve us having to have a look at ourselves in the mirror. Status kita sebagai sebuah liga. Unfortunately, bola sepak sekarang ni hidup dalam dunia kapitalis kan. So the richer, bigger clubs continue to get more powerful, whereas the smaller clubs continue to die. Dan ini bukan fenomena yang eksklusif ke Malaysia saja. It's a global problem. It's a very difficult environment untuk club nak cuba sustain, nak cuba run, because the cost is very, very high. Why is the cost very high? Because forget about the travel apa semua. Let's be real, vast majority of Malaysian teams spend a lot of their money on wages, on player signings, on the kind of because the wage structure in Malaysia pun has skyrocketed over the last few years. Foreign players continue to be super duper expensive. Agents continue to make commissions and have a bit of a reign over clubs over here.
Ini jumlah pemain import pun dah dinaikkan.
Correct. How do smaller clubs? The argument is always, kalau club nak tarik sponsorship kat Malaysia, dia kena kompetitif. Kalau nak kompetitif, terlebih dahulu kena spend. Tapi kalau spend ni pula tak ada guarantee you jadi competitive and tak ada guarantee you will menang something. You can spend 20 million and still finish 14th and then you cannot drive any commercial, you cannot rely any more money.
Ia multifaceted, tapi salah satu dimensi ialah sustainability lah, kelestarian kewangan yang telah membawa kepada dua kelab gergasi ini tidak diberikan lesen.
Begitulah keadaan industri sepak bola Malaysia saat ini. Terima kasih sudah menonton sajian kami, sampai jumpa lagi.